Welcome. Before we begin, I would like to talk about the new killer that has came out in the PTB. It takes like 12 hours for my particular computer, for whatever reason, or internet, or whatever's causing it to download PTB, so I'm just not going to. I haven't looked at any videos, content, anything like that, but I think what I might do is just watch a couple other YouTubers play and then give a pseudo opinion of what I see this killer, they can do. I'm not gonna do it on stream, obviously, because that's like the ultimate copyright. Even though people take like to try not to laugh and they literally just watch them and then laugh and comment over them. But yeah, I think that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna look up a couple of creators and see how they play the game. Watch a couple of survivors that are survivor main creators. See how they go up against her, and then compare notes. Just keep in mind that I'm not playing the particular killer, so I won't have 100% accurate data. You know what I'm saying? Let's see. Dbd new killer. And go over the perks and things like that. That said, Hex Pentimento. Excuse me. Somebody needs to update their website. I guess she hasn't released, so they're probably not going to do anything, so they don't have to keep updating. I mean, that's views right now. Like this company, yeah, they'll have to update and do everything else, but, they're getting views. People like me that, don't want to spend the time downloading everything. Chick from the ring, you got the well, all the other things. I mean, she looks like how you'd expect. Hair down over front, same gown, There's really not much to her character model, not even in the movies. Let's see. Leaked skins, interesting. Let's see. Before I go any farther, my chat, where did my chat go? Oh, it's up there. One negative of using that pen application, if you leave your chat somewhere random, it's gonna stay somewhere random. Sadako. Let's see. Blah blah blah. Sadako Yamamura. Her perks are as follows: Call of Brawn. Your psychic abilities influence technology in devastating ways. After damaging a generator, this perk becomes active for 60 seconds. The generator regress at 150% of the normal regression speed, and its aura is revealed to you. Each time a survivor completes a good skill check on a generator affected by this perk, you receive a loud noise notification. So they literally, this bottom here, they took the 1001 different things that people were saying on the creation forum, and they simplified it to make it balanced to the equation. So all of you that were like, oh, well, anytime a survivor hits a good skill check, this is going to happen. This is going to happen. Their auras are going to be revealed for 10 seconds, or they're going to get exposed, or any other type of craziness. They took all of the ore reading out, they took all of the craziness out, and they simplified it as base as they could, and you just get a loud noise notification. Loud noise notifications don't last long, and they let you know where survivors are. This perk is not by any means strong, because it's literally just that particular generator, and it only lasts for 60 seconds. So instead of having this effect active like the creation forum did, they actually went through and tweaked it and made it usable. So all of you guys that want a generator perk that essentially punish survivors for having good skill checks, this is a balancer for it. You have to set up a particular generator by kicking it, and the survivor has to go back to it. If you do this particular perk, you can get rid of the Dragon's Grasp activations and things like that. Because me personally, I never get Dragon's Grasp activations. Nobody ever goes back, and I never get those. This perk still has the 60 seconds, but it also regresses the generator. Not as fast as Ruin, which is 200%, but 1.5 times 150%. So Ruin still is by far better, plus Ruin hits every generator as opposed to this. That gives it a very nice passive if you don't get, the Dragon's Grasp activation. That's what frustrated me about Dragon's Grasp, is if you didn't get the activation, it sat as a dead perk. This perk is done what I always recommend, is give it a slight passive that ain't really getting in the way of anything else. Change it around, make it be, implemented in a very nice, very low key that doesn't tip the scale either way. The survivors do not have to work on that particular gen. And if you know she's running that particular perk and she walks up and kicks it, you're kind of suiciding yourself if you run onto that generator and start, doing normal skill checks on it. If you have no progress on it, abandon it, find another generator for a minute or so. If you have a lot of progress on it, then, go for those great skill checks. If you do blow the generator, it is what it is. Because, typically, they'll catch you around Tinkerer's range anyway, and you'll just start activating their Tinkerer every time. They'll come and they'll kick it. And then you'll go back to it and they'll activate Tinkerer again, and you generally get stuck there if that killer is pressuring that gen. But I actually do like this perk, and I am heavily against survivors, or penalizing survivors for doing a skill check, or for doing a good deed, aka passing a skill check. However, the survivor in this case is putting themselves in that position because it only affects the one generator that she kicks. I would even go as far as to say that because this is only active for 60 seconds, and I haven't looked at any of her powers or anything like this. As of now, I'm going off of like mouse one killer strats, no powers, nothing like that. So my opinion's subject to change. If she's not a strong, range attacker or doesn't have some sort of insane ability, you could actually go as far as buffing this ever so slightly, which it's during public test beta. If they see that Call of Brawn is doo-doo, they'll probably do something about it. Is what I would personally like to see is not only if they don't get the good skill checks, the notification and all of that, which is kind of, it is what it is. I would like to see like the old Ruin effect pop onto that too, and bring this as more like a targeted gen perk that's actually worthwhile. Because if you progresses at 150% speed, Then, if they jump back on that particular generator, if they're not hitting great skill checks, then, it regresses and pauses the generator like Old Ruin does for a couple of seconds, giving you the maximum amount of gen pressure on a single gen. Now, this would make this a late game perk. It won't be very usable during the beginning or middle game, but late game perks, it would be the very good perk. This perk obviously does not stack with Ruin unless you're running it instead of Pop, which I mean is completely fine because it is essentially a better Pop. Differences: Pop requires a hook, and then you get that 25% Pop. Whereas this particular perk, you can activate it almost as much as you want. I doubt this is the full description, but the only thing that I would say negative about this perk is the fact that if it doesn't have a cooldown, obviously add a goddamn cooldown to this shit. If you don't want to add a cooldown, fine. Add in the fact that it doesn't stack. It might be coded to not stack, but you need the words so that it don't stack either. Or two. So either make it have cooldown or make it to where it doesn't stack. If the survivor goes to a generator and takes that challenge and the killer comes back and pushes it off of and kicks it again, that's 150% plus another 150% on top of that. Now it's better than Ruin. And I don't know how the good skill checks are going to do anything. I don't know if they're going to stack or they cancel out or if it redoes everything. Maybe it just adds another 60 seconds or restarts the timer. Who knows? You can define all of that by easily putting does not stack at the end. Unless you want it to stack. Or adding in a cooldown. If it's active for 60 seconds, give it like, a 20-second cooldown, It ain't gotta be a full 60 seconds, but it needs something there to keep killer from getting double activations on that shiz. Heck, you can get a lot of activations if the survivor's just adamant about it. 150% speed ain't bad. Ruin's 200% speed ain't bad. Once you go past 200% speed, which is you lose 1% on a generator every 2 seconds, now we're getting somewhere that's a little bit dangerous. But like I said, this is just them writing it out. The behavior devs probably have this pretty much issued covered. So take what I say with a grain of rice. This is my first time seeing this perk. I'm going off of these wording here. Literal. I wish it was a picture. I'm just saying, if it's missing the things, it needs it. If it already has it, cool. Good perk. You definitely use a buff. Because, I mean, this perk is going up against a Ruin, essentially. Ruin and Pop, actually. And it fits right in as a second place, I'd say. Pop, I mean, has an instant activation, then it's done and requires a hook, whereas you can get this activation whenever you want. If you're a killer that can make fast downs, then obviously you'll want to use Pop. If you're not a killer that makes fast downs, then you'll obviously want to use Call of Brawn. It's not bad. Not bad. And could definitely be buffed, and I don't think it would affect anything that bad. It just needs, if you're gonna buff it, definitely add it doesn't stack or put a cooldown on it if it don't have one. Scourge Hook, Floods of Rage. You form a psychic connection with the entity and alter the rules of the trail. You sucked his dick, didn't you? Nah. At the start of the trail, up to 4 random hooks are changed into Scourge Hooks. You see their ores in white. When a survivor is unhooked from a scourge hook, all the other survivors have their ore revealed for 5 seconds. Useless. This is another classic example of a useless ore reading perk. I expected a little bit more from the devs when it comes to something like this, but I guess every killer has a meh perk. I mean, what can you say? It's a scourge hook, barbecue, and chili that has 1 extra second of activation. So you're going to come into a couple of issues here. If a person goes down and another teammate goes early for an unhook, which I hate, by the way, you should be working on a generator, all of that. Because once the killer goes down, you have that little bit of time to where if the killer decides to break any pallets in the area or look around to see if there's other survivors, then you have them being picked up, then you have them being taken to the hook, put on the hook, then generators getting kicked or the killer, setting up traps or whatever, and then they eventually leave. And if they're a quick hit you down and hook you, you generally got 10 seconds. So you got anywhere between 10 and like 30 seconds worth of time, depending on what killer you're going against, before the killer's actually cleared out from that hook, even if they're not a camper. You know what I'm saying? And if you're there, sitting there, chilling, waiting on this person to get hooked, you're essentially wasting time. This part forces survivors to stay away and not go for instant unhooks, which is bad for the killer. If anything, it should be, like an opposite type of effect or something like that, that punishes survivors for not going for an instant unhook, to force them off of gens. You don't want to force them on the gens. But I really don't like this scourge hook perk. And if anybody does, are altruistic or doing a challenge or really wanting to get the instant unhooks before a trapper or something can set up, as soon as they're hooked, if they have, anything, any type of good build, perks, Bubba, anything to where they can get to you and you can't really get away, you're kind of screwed. Because, I mean, if I'm on a generator nearby and I see somebody going down, I generally will kind of creep up to the hook. And as they get hooked and the killer's, doing whatever they're doing, I'll go for that grab. If I have borrowed time or something like that equipped, obviously. I'm not going to unhook in front of a killer and then let them go down again. If the killer's stuck in animation or something, like putting down a trap or something, that's a different story. Or if they're kicking a pallet, I can then unhook them and then immediately body block if need be. Because they're stuck in an animation and they're in an area where I can get behind them and stop them from doing anything. But this particular perk stops that from happening. So I'm actually happy when I see a killer run this particular perk, because it's going to stop people from going from instant unhooks, and it's going to put more time in the actual game. Opening chests, doing totems, doing generators. All of those are bad for killer. So this particular perk, and especially only having to get a scourge hook for such a mediocre effect, is kind of like meh too. You might as well have just made it, after you down a survivor, all other survivors have their ores revealed. It'll give the whoever the killer is a choice. Do you go for the instant hook or do you go after the other survivors? At least shorten that and give barbecue and chili, it's just desserts. Now, granted, you're not going to always be able to make Scourge hooks unless you only go after survivors in particular areas. So, whenever you can get this activation, which is still mediocre, because I mean, think about it. As soon as you hook this survivor, boom. If a particular survivor isn't already near you, it's just an extended barbecue and chili activation. Yes, it shows everywhere as opposed to, way out there in the distance and all of that. But, what are you going to do with that information? You're going to run after the nearest survivor. About time you get there, because they know you have that perk, obviously. By the time you get there, and that's if they don't lock or hop to block that, like barbecue and chili gets blocked. If they don't lock or hop, they know you're going to be, after them. They're going to be waiting for your presence and everything else. So I don't know what she's a stealth killer or whatever, but they're going to be waiting on it. Bam, my dude just got hooked. She can see me. I'm nearby. She's probably headed this way. I'm going to go ahead and go to a loop and we're going to begin this chase. If somebody's across the other side of the map working on a generator, they know they just got hooked, and it's a very low percentage that the killer's going to come all the way toward you, unless she has some sort of insane teleport. And you really ain't got to worry about much. The Floods of Rage, all in all, I mean, it's kind of a meh perk. I said every killer should generally, and survivor generally has a meh perk. Not a perk that anybody's ever going to really run. It's just kind of there as a filler for when you first play the killer. It's just sad that it does nothing but aura reveal. This is one of the worst ways you can use aura reveal. And again, if the survivor's near you, like inside of your terror radius, you can just use infectious fright to get the same information. And infectious fright is worth more than hooking somebody and seeing all of the auras and things like that. Because if they're too far away, it's not going to matter. Because unless you have insane speed or insane way to get across to particular survivors and all of that, or to get to any survivor, because you're only moving at 4.6, let's say 5, you can go 25 meters, well, less than 25 meters after you hook a survivor, and that's if you immediately move afterwards. So any survivor that is within 25 meters, you can get to. Any survivor outside of that radius has a chance to get away from you. Because as you're getting close to them, they're going to obviously be running or moving or planning their next step. At least they should be. So Floods of Rage, definitely, it's a very meh perk, and I'd say get rid of it, change it, buff it, do something to it. At least give it, a nice passive or anything, even like a 2% haste status effect just to get to where you're going faster might even be good. But this is real bad as it sits. It's just a better barbecue and chili. Actually, I would find it better if you just buffed barbecue and chili and gave it an extra second to 5 seconds, as opposed to trying to introduce another perk flooded into the perk list. We don't need more bad perks or more perks that people aren't going to use. You know what I'm saying? Give us the content, give us the sauce. Anyway, I'm going to stop grilling for this perk. My final thoughts on it is do something with it. And Merciless Storm. Your horrible trauma is felt by everyone. When a generator reaches 90% progress, survivors working on the gen will be faced with continuous skill checks. If they miss or stop repairing, the generator is blocked for 16 seconds. Merciless Storm could only trigger once per generator per trial. The only thing I have to say to that is 3-gen situation. So obviously, if you get rid of this trash perk and you trade it out with Tinker, Tinkerer gives you the undetectable status effect and also gives you the location where they are at 75% progress. If you can't get to that gen, then at 90% progress, they get continuous skill checks. Because they're getting continuous skill checks, the next thing you would throw into that is the Huntress's Lullaby or something like that. Unless the skill checks are obviously set up like, well, it's probably set up like the runes, where you just hit it ding, 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 ding. So I guess that's not necessarily going to matter. You'll probably want to switch out the Huntress's Lullaby, or if you want to use it for new people, switch it out for, not Overwhelm. Overwhelming Presence, is it? Whatever the one is that makes the skill checks harder when you're within, when they're within your tear radius. If you run that and that, giving them harder skill checks that they have to keep hitting continuously, then run something that forces them off of the particular generator, like Eruption or something like that. I mean, me personally, this is the same as just Ghostface's perk, but it activates automatically. I would throw this in my Ghostface build to fill out my last slot, and when I down somebody, I get the 16-second block. When they get the 90%, the generator blocks for another 16 seconds. So as long as I down somebody before the generator completes, that is 32 extra seconds added to every single generator, making it well over 100 seconds per generator. So if you think about that, those two stack very well. If you can get continuous downs, and if you're not using Ghostface, you're using like a Plague, for example, that shit gets disgusting. Everybody thought I was going to say Bubba. But not in this case. You would want Plague because you can get easy downs because everybody stays broken throughout the trial. So you can keep getting those activations. So you pick Survivor up on your shoulder. If they're not already working on the generator, it's blocked for 16 seconds. But I mean, if you run like Eruption or something else that bops them off of the particular generator, you can knock them off of the generator. Anyway, excuse me. Anyways, so you need something to knock them off the generator. You need something to punish them for completing the generator. So you're gonna need like Eruption, Tinker, and that's if you want to run Tinker. That just gets you closer to the gen before they get that activation. Once they get that activation for that 16 seconds, you're in a very, very, very bad spot. That means they only got like 8 seconds left on that generator at 90%. So you want to take care of that before. It only activates once per gen per trial, so Ruin ain't really that good when it comes down to that. And if your particular killer doesn't have a lot of map pressure, you'll actually get more time at a Merciless Storm than you'll get out of Ruin. It's kind of funny. This all comes down to forcing them off of the generator. If you use, I guess the Artist and Pinhead, one of the two, maybe both, have that perk on the Scourge Hook as well that you could stack to decrease the generator by like, what is it, like 18% or something like that. I don't know. There's a couple of builds that you could run. No, that's just skins. What's her power though? Hmm. The Merciless Storm can be stacked with other perks to be real nasty. Very disgusting. More experienced players are going to be fine. Newer players are going to get absolutely shit on. So you got that guaranteed 16 seconds on newer players. They aren't going to be able to hit the continuous. So, good job on Merciless Storm. Olive Brine isn't too terrible. It can be buffed to make this a very strong and very worthwhile killer. And it's rare that I say that a perk could use a buff, but I mean, having Merciless Storm and a very well put together Call of Brawn would ruin Dead by Daylight players, and this killer could be one of the least her perks can become meta perks very easily. Scourge Hook, Floods of Rage, it's garbage. But all in all, perk wise, not bad. Like I said, you got two good perks that hopefully help this killer and what they're doing, and then you have one meh perk. It doesn't matter if it stays or goes. So, good job. Um, where is? I just seen the survivor. Yeah, there we go. His perk should be readily available. We'll see what he has before I go on to that. Yorichi Asakawa. Hmm. Uh, is he a taller? Kind of hoping he's gonna be short, but it looks like he's fairly tall. I hope he's not, though. It would be nice to have like a shorter actual male character, because everybody generally plays the females for either big booty purposes, better cosmetic choices, or the obvious, they're just shorter. They have smaller hit boxes, they're harder to find. I hope he's shorter. I would love a shorter male. Let's see. Parental guidance. You have inherited the ability to hear the dead, and now the dead warn you of danger. After stunning the killer by any means, your scratch mark, pools of bloods, and grunts of pain are hidden for 8 seconds. That's actually disgusting. So they're pulling very strong perks on both sides, which is good. It is like disgustingly disgusting. Grotesquely disgusting. Oh my lord. Because this means I don't have to run quick and quiet or anything like that, and I can start running like smash hit. Yeah, I don't have to run dances. I don't have to run any of those anymore. Um, this is also kind of an anti-contender perk too, because if you get that head-on rush or just head-on, it's now called head-on out of a locker, that counts as a stun. Decisive strike, that counts as a stun. So any killer that's tunneling, you're kind of screwed now. Oof. And that's any stun. by any means. It's not a blind, keep in mind. Not a blind. But it being a stun is disgusting. The grunts of pain being the most obvious thing there. I've been asking for a counter for the noise. Because, I mean, if you blind the killer, they can just listen to your audio of you screaming and running, and they can just literally go up to you and, bam. If you stun them, the killer's like, oh, and they really can't hear you running away that well. Then there's no grunts of pain afterwards, so you can literally just hide beside them. And if they're not vigilant, they can just run off in a different direction. You can do all kinds of different techs to get away. Or you can just straight up run out in a different direction, just keeping a tree or something at your back where they can't see which way you're running. It's going to be extremely strong for, most importantly, decisive for somebody who's at the end of the rope and about to be sacrificed. You hit him with a decisive, which is a 5-second stun. I think it's 5 seconds, either 4 or 5. I'm going to say 5 off the top of my head. 5-second stun. And then on top of that, an extra 3 seconds after you get unstunned, where you just can't see where they are. Oof. Oof. 8 seconds is oof. It's rough. I mean, they have to kind of make it 8 seconds because of decisive. And other, stunning perks and things like that. So they can't drop the time on that, because if they only make it like 3 seconds, then there's no point in running decisive or anything like that. Because the animation takes up 5 seconds. By that time, it's like, well, there's no point in having it. Dang. Parental guidance is just disgusting. That's definitely a perk worth buying. Just that perk right there is worth buying. Any stuns. You pallet stun the killer. You can then use all kinds of other tech. Even the tech where you stun them, then you slide over the pallet to get behind them so they can't see. You can literally use that tech and not worry about it because you no longer leave scratch marks or have any grunts of pain. So there's going to be other tech where you stun them, slide across, then run back to the other side of the pallet. And they can't hear you, so they're just going to be confused as all hell trying to figure out where you went. Oh no. The possibilities are limitless. I think I'm going to watch a probes video. He'll probably run the hell out of this. Boon, Dark Theory. Another boon, huh? Your excessive study of paranormal, not paranoia, Jesus Christ, has given you unprecedented knowledge of other realms and planes of existence. Boon totem, yeah. Any survivors within the boon totem range gain a 2% haste status effect. Garbage. Survivors move at 4 meters per second. So keep in mind that 1% of that is like 0.04. It's like really fucking low. Well, let's just do it easy math. 4. 10% of that would be 1 decimal point over, which goes to 0.4. 1% of that is another decimal point over, so 0.04. So you're moving 0.08 faster, so 4.08. Killer moves at 4.6. 4.08. I'm going to double check. 2% of 4 is 0.08. I'm sorry to tell you, but 4.08 and 4 might as well be the same dang things. You ain't getting anything. And that's while you're within that 24-meter range of that totem. So, yeah. This second perk is absolutely, positively, utter garbage. Because you got 4.6 and 4.4, and the survivors are going 4.08. So instead of the range killers, which I mean they're range killers, they're going to be getting 3.02. No, 3.92 distance on you per second. Regular 4.6 is going to be getting 4.52 on you a second as opposed to 4.6. It's negligible. It's absolute and positive, utter garbage. But I know why, because they can't do like boon sprint burst, or boon this or that, or anything like that. I would rather you have a breakout effect on this particular totem, but changed where if the killer gets near you, you get a boost of an effect, and if the killer is carrying you while you're inside of that 24-meter range, you get that breakout effect of increased wiggle speed. That's what I would like to see with this. Boon breakout. Except it doesn't require another survivor, which I mean, if you want to buff it, you can make it to where, or nerf it, you can make it to where another survivor has to be present. But I would definitely like a decent amount of increase when the killer gets within a particular range of you, because that would speed up 360s and things like that, making them faster, giving the killer a harder time. It would get rid of the sensitivity thing that I've been complaining about forever, where people with high sensitivity can just lunge attack you or regular attack you and flick their mouse and just zoom over a right angle and get you at the end of their attack animation when they clearly missed. This is what I would like to see here. You fix one of the issues that I've been having problems with, or that I personally have a problem with. This would fix the other one. Boon breakout. Change this from just a useless 2% taste status effect. Make it to where it, will give you a slight increase to wiggle timer, but most importantly, when the killer's within X amount of meters of you, or you're within X amount of meters of killer, you get a significant buff, speeding up 360s, making your window fakes faster, etc., etc. That is the best way that I can think to implement this perk without making it just not worthwhile at all like that. 2% garbage. But it is a meh perk. If somebody's running a boon build, I guess they might just throw it in there for shits and giggles. But it's not worthwhile. I mean, imagine dropping this for like Dead Hard or something like that. Which, to be fair, this will give you more distance than Dead Hard, because Dead Hard's a short dash, but the iframe's worth the change in distance. Because you're getting 0.08 value per second. Now, 10 seconds in, you've only gotten 0.8 faster, or 0.8 distance. That's 0.8 of a meter of distance on the killer. So every 10 seconds, you've gotten an extra 0.0 or 0.8. Not very good for 10 seconds worth of running. But I mean, if you're needing to get to that window and you're gonna get clipped as you're going through the window, you might, with that little bit of speed boost, might save you. But I mean, I don't know. Very lackluster for it to just be a status effect and they just leave it there like that. But I mean, boon totems aren't made to give you a huge competitive advantage. They weren't made like that. They were made to assist you and to make it to where survivors don't need to run the same perk over and over and over and over. It allows you to, change up your builds. If you have a 4-man team all running self-care, then that's a waste of a slot when one person can run boon, circle of healing, and then everybody can self-care out of that. And it's balanced to where everybody don't just get that free perk. They have to go to an area where it has a totem in it, so the person has to find the totem, set the totem, and all of that for them to get that bonus. Which, when it first came out, I argued with a lot of people that Boon Circle of Healing is just about the same as self-care. And I had so many arguments, and people were like, no, they need to change this shit, it's too OP, and all of that. It's like you rarely see it ran anymore. Anyway, like the second perk of hers, this perk's not very good. It needs to be changed ever so slightly. An empathic connection. Your presence psychically projects itself to those in danger. Whenever another survivor is injured, they can see your aura within a range of 32 meters. You heal other survivors 10% faster. That is 1.6 seconds, unless you're in Circle of Healing. Which, again, you would run Circle of Healing instead of this garbage to get that increased healing speed. And then your other perk would probably be like Dead Hard or something, just a regular old meta perk. Oh boy. I don't know why you would ever want to let another survivor see you when they're injured. I mean, it's kind of like empathy, but backwards. But I mean, with empathy, you can work on a generator, or you can go to them, you can see where they're running, things like that. If they're running to you or in your direction, you can GTFO or hide in a locker, just kind of get out of the way. But I don't know what, like, the other perks that they have when you're working on a generator, the other survivors can see that you're working on that generator. Like, what the hell? Why would you waste a perk slot for that? Why would I waste a perk slot letting people that are injured be able to see me? Because what they're going to do is they're going to say, oh, well, that guy has that perk, and they're going to run all the way across map to you to get a heal instead of working on that last gen that needs to be done or using whatever time they have wisely. Again, if the killer's not directly on them or pursuing them, then that's when this perk gets power. But another thing that's going to happen is you're setting yourself up to trolls. Now, if you're playing, a gank squad and you're the looper, and one of your guys gets hit, they can run the killer to you, and you can get your job on. But me personally, if I see somebody with this, I get injured and I can see another person, and they're not on a gen or anything like that, and they're just chilling, I'm gonna run the killer to them. You ain't doing nothing. Take this killer off of me. Take this hit. And I'm gonna continue on my way after I dump the killer off on them. You want to be this very bright ass beacon where everybody can see where you are when you get injured? You're gonna get trolled a lot. I'm getting chased by a killer and the killer's good and I can't handle them. I'm dumping them on you. When you go down, I know you at least have some sort of value in that aspect that you're a scapegoat. That's what they should name this, is scapegoat. And anytime you get to survive with friends and somebody else is running that particular perk, when they light up, the SWF is going to use that person that lights up to their advantage. They're going to run the killer by them. They're going to get clapped because they're standing out like a sore thumb. If you get to the position where you're on your death hook and you're begging for your life, you're going to point towards the person you can see and say, hey, he's over there. He's over there. Go that way. You're gonna do the same shit that Macho does to me. Whenever he's in trouble, oh, I'm gonna run him by Q. Oh, I'm on my last life. Hey, I'm gonna point towards Q's direction. Hey, he's over there. Go get him. Man, this killer's running me too hard. I'm gonna run him by Q. Same shit Macho does. Except if I was running this, it would make his job a lot easier. So like I said, if you run Empathic Connection, just keep in mind that you are going to be prone for getting trolled. I would suggest the Dead by Daylight devs make it to where if the person is, well, one, either has to be fully healed for the injured survivors to see them, or they get some sort of shield after healing that particular person for, X amount of time till the end of the heal. So if the killer is, following them and they walk in and they start healing him and the killer's like, ah, you know, they have, like a couple of seconds of shield that they're not going to get punished for. At least give them deep wound status effects or an anti-trolling thing. If I'm working on a gen and I have my perk going and another guy runs the killer by me and the killer, hits me or something like that, give me an extra boost of speed, give me, a protection hit where I won't take any damage, or give me, something that I can use to anti-troll this perk. I already see what's going to happen with it. The community's not going to play it right like it's designed. It's going to be a troll perk. And that person's going to typically have to be a runner because he's going to get everybody else ran over near them. What's up, Galanonim? It'll have good effects to where, if somebody's working on a gen, other people avoid them at higher tier level lobbies, iridescent lobbies. It'll be played right for the most part. But low level lobbies, nah, they're gonna run the killer straight to them and they're gonna go down. Please anti-troll this part. I'm not gonna particularly use it, but for the people that do use it, they're gonna need it. I'm not a big fan of it. Yeah, you heal survivors 10% faster. That's a pretty, I'm gonna say it's a decent passive. Yes, it's a passive. 10% of 16 is 1.6 seconds. Yes, it's the difference between if you're healing and the killer's on their way, you might be able to get the heal out for them just to take the hit and get a speed boost. But at that point, you might as well just continue the run, you know what I'm saying? Instead of letting them take the hit and get back in the chase, unless the killer has, like bloodlust, then obviously that's a bloodlust loss there once they take that hit, and then the chase can continue on. Differences, different scenarios where you would take the hit and finish the heal. Wish I could stay, but it's late and I have to wake up early again. Oh, that's fun. Thanks for popping in, saying hi. It's always nice to see you pop in. Tomorrow I will have sign language, so I hope I'll learn some Witcher signs to cast. Oh my. He's gonna start doing RuneScape runes and start teleporting places. Only thing I ask is you leave my mom alone. Imagine though if sign language actually could give you different signs and things to cast. Um, well, final thoughts on Empathic Connection. Not a very good perk. You started out very strong with parental guidance, went very meh with the second perk, and then you started just disappointing with the last perk. If anything, why not make Empathic Connection be part of Dark Theory? 2% haste status effect. Whenever you're inside of that and another survivor's injured, they can see your aura if you're inside of this, and you heal other survivors 10% faster. But all of this in one boon perk, all of this, and then come up with a third perk, and you guys would be golden. But as it sits now, it's disappointing. Not worth the buy for one particular OP perk and then two garbage perks. Well, I mean, it is. I mean, this perk, parental guidance, does make it. Let me go back. Parental guidance does make it a worthwhile buy. But then you get two garbage perks that you have to kind of dance around, which is dumb. I hope he's a shorter killer, because if he is a shorter killer, then it makes it even more worthwhile. Then you have two positive, two negatives. But it is what it is. Now I want to see this killer's powers. I don't want perk, I want power. Ring is hella popular, so it will sell no matter what perks or abilities killer have. Yeah, that is true. They do sell every single killer based on popularity. The forum will be lively for sure about buffing perks. Definitely. Definitely, definitely, definitely. It's going to ring out and buffs and different opinions and things like that. I'm assuming that's what she looks like in game. Interesting. Uh, okay. Here's her powers. Let me see you. See you, Galanonim. Sadako killer power. Here's a look at the killer's powers for Sadako, also known as the Unreal. Deluge of fear. Through the medium and mysterious videotape, Sadako spreads her curse to unwitting viewers and causes their untimely deaths. In the psychic realm, the Onryu is invisible to survivors. Actually, that's Onryo, right? Or is it Onryu? It's Onryu, not Onryo. I was right. It's Onryu. Ain't that what that symbol means? I don't know. Anyway, if I'm wrong, feel free to correct me. I'll learn it all eventually once I start looking at videos and things like that. And so my Windows just crashed. I freaking love you, Windows. You crash all the time. Windows 11. Heck yeah. The Onryu is invisible to survivors, but becomes intermittently invisible when within 32 meters of them. So she is essentially Old Wraith. When he was invisible, he could be seen a lot further. Wonder what her tear radius is. Her tear radius is 32, and she comes visible when tear radius hits survivor. Excuse me. That would be kind of sort of interesting. Now, without the little O symbol at the top, it's Onryo. The Onryo must physically manifest to attack survivors. Press and hold the power button to manifest into material form in your current position. For a brief duration after manifesting, the Onryo will continue to be intermittently visible to survivors when within 32 meters. Afterwards, she will be fully visible within 32 meters for as long as she remains manifested. The Onryo can demonfest. Demonfest? Oh, demanifest. I was thinking like demon. Demanifest by pressing and holding the power button. Special ability projection. The Unreal can also take material form by projecting herself through a TV. Press the ability button while looking at a powered TV to project into it. Shutting the TV off in the process, all survivors within the 16 meters of the TV gain condemned progress. A fully condemned survivor is revealed by Killer Instinct and can be killed once down. Really? You incorporated a mini Mori? Survivors can temporarily turn off TVs with the retrieve tape action. This adds condemned to the survivor while holding a tape. The survivor can continue turning off other TVs, further gaining condemned for doing so. One specific TV will have its aura highlighted to the survivor. This TV allows the survivor to spread the Onryo's message by inserting their tape. Doing so removes some condemned progress. Reading it in words makes this killer sound like a whole bunch of Dead Daylight creation reviews that I've done, all summarized into one killer. It's taken the mirrors from Critty's aspect. It's taken the whatchamacallit from the judge or whoever it was. It wasn't condemned. It was whatever that was. Then it's incorporating other things like the rage from the Yandere perk and everything else that I've done. It's just a conglomeration of all of those combined into one killer. This is one of the most disappointing reads I've ever made or ever seen in my life. I'm going to withhold any comments that I have to say until I actually see some gameplay footage. I will probably talk about the killer next time. Because what I'm reading so far is absolutely positively disappointing. I know they're trying to stick to her theme and all of that, but that is the most disappointing read I've read in my goddamn life. So, as of now, I'm going to withhold anything that I'm going to mention about that particular killer. Hang on for a moment. I'm going to go watch some videos right now, and then probably tomorrow, day after, I don't know, depending on next time I hop back on here, I will try to go in more further depth and give you a more conclusive analysis over this killer. As of now, thank you, Galanonim, for stopping by, and anybody else that looks at this particular review. I actually think I provided good information, at least perk-wise, and things that they could possibly do, so I am satisfied. Um, I'm about to go watch some videos. The lineup that I've seen so far, which I've been searching on the background on my phone, I'm going to watch probes for survivor side type deals. I'm going to probably hop on Not Oats for a killer review and for a killer sided perspective. And then I'm going to watch Omewrecker. Omewrecker does both. He's not really a survivor or killer sided. So Probes is the survivor, Not Oats is the killer perspective, and Omewrecker is the both. Those are the first three that I could find that pulled up, and they seem to be popular and everything else. So if you want to see the references I'm going after, those are the three. Like I said, thank you for stopping by, and as always, supplement your lifestyle, and I hope to see you guys soon. Bye, everybody. Peace.